Good morning and welcome everybody to the Mental Health Festival 2023. For those of you just joining us now, I'm Melinda and I'm thrilled to be your host this morning. At Intellect, we are committed to making mental health care and well-being support accessible for everybody. Our goal is to empower organizations to prioritize employee well-being and create thriving workplaces, which is also the goal of our yearly mental health festival. This year's theme is Inspiring Change, which is exactly what this second session aims to do as well. Unlocking real engagement and well-being with authenticity and resilience. We often hear that vulnerability can be quite powerful, but how can we be genuine about our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions in the workplace while also upholding the professionalism that's expected in our roles and in our responsibilities? Our first speaker for today is Nathan Andre, a former CPO and global well-being leader, coach, LGBTQ activist, and business leader who joins us from America. Nathan's drive to authentically serve others developed into a love of helping people, ultimately leading to a career in human resources where he spent over 2 decades. Having lived around the world and most recently here in Singapore, his mission is to show people the way through their struggles and teach them how to care for their whole person. Though he only started developing the REAL, the real model, in adulthood, his friends and family tell him he's been coaching his whole life. Nathan is also the author of the Amazon bestseller, Your Real Life, Get Authentic, Be Resilient, Make It Count, published earlier this year in May. Thank you very much for being here with us today, Nathan. We're all very excited to hear from you. So without further ado, over to you, Nathan.
Thank you. Linda, really great to see you here, and hello to the Intellect community and collective. And awesome. I was just sharing behind the scenes how amazing it is to have a mental health festival, truly a global audience and global participants with us on today. Super excited to be here. I'm here in Washington, D.C. It's evening time for me, and I can't wait to get started. So let's go to the next slide and get things moving along. Unlocking real engagement and well-being secrets. Actually, the secrets, as we've already seen in the first title, are really about authenticity and resilience, and I'm really looking forward to share that with you. But let's start first with the next slide. And there will be a little bit of a delay as we change slides. I want to introduce you to my friend on the next slide. Where is she? There she is, Lori. This is Lori. She's working in a global bank based in Singapore. She's working in multi-dimensional world. She's stuck at her desk, her small little table at home, sometimes on her bed. She's got 4 mobile phones. She's got 2 laptop computers. Her husband's in the background, burning dinner. There's a dog barking and a child screaming to do something in the background. The monotony of looking at her screens and managing the variety of phone calls, while all this is distracting, while coming out of a global pandemic, sounds like a lot of overwhelm. And it also sounds like something we might know. She's suffering from what we call techno-stress, and that results in digital burnout. And this is the reality of a prolonged post-COVID life, merging with an extended digital revolution and an emerging world of AI. Are you exhausted yet, like Lori, or are you engaged? Let me engage you now with this provocation. By the end of today's chat, I will reveal 3 secrets that work to unlock engagement and well-being by using authenticity and resilience. Let's go. Next slide. So, is Lori responsible for her well-being, or is her company? You know, I'm an HR guy, and I'm always thinking about how do we blur the lines? How do we make sure we get the right thing right? The truth is that the responsibility is a shared one. In one study, 81% of employees say that employers are primarily responsible for their well-being and mental health and mental health resources at the workplace. And another study actually stated that the workplace is more likely to be the first stop in most employees' mental health journey. So employees and workers have a responsibility for taking control of their own health and well-being, but employers also are responsible to create workplaces where people are connected, safe, psychologically safe, and where employees can show up and do their best work. So the responsibility is a shared one. Each side needs to work at it, and it is absolutely about building psychological safety and vulnerability on both sides. And ultimately, there's no one-size-fits-all approach. You probably have heard that before. And why? It's because humans are unique and workplaces are unique. Let's go on to the next slide. So every workplace is unique, and so is your workplace. So fundamentally, building mental health and psychological safety for well-being starts with what I call a human-centered approach, okay? And there are three key elements of this human-centered approach, and it really is taking the whole person into consideration. So let's move to the next slide, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. So the three elements of a human-centered centric approach are also the same elements of engagement, which is secret number one. You need three key things to drive engagement and well-being in a company. And they are mindset, culture, and tools. Now, mindset is really about purpose, or at where I used to work at the Body Shop and some other companies, it's about activism. It's about making change. It's about fighting for causes. And well-being is the fuel for that. You can build this up, top down, left to right. Culture, this is the second part. Culture, well-being as a culture, when that's put first, and then using well-being as fuel to make your business flourish. That's the second part. The third part is really about using tools of well-being, and tools actually that are like the ones that I use and talk about in my book. Let me give you some examples. Let's talk about mindset first. Let's go to the next slide. When we're talking about mindset, it's really about planting it. And it's the first thing that comes to what we need to be talking about. It's sometimes activism, it's bold statements about business and delivery. So my question back to all of you is, where is your company's purpose? And yes, there is a small delay as those slides take time to load. So if they're not showing, just give it a second to load up. Purpose, is well-being fundamentally part of your purpose? Can it be part of your purpose? Well-being should be part of your purpose. And when well-being is embedded in the mindset, we're talking about mindset, it's the first element of engagement. When we're talking about mindset in the culture, engagement's going to flourish because leaders, managers, and all the people are consistently thinking about well-being. It's on their mind, literally. Let me give you some examples, right? At the Body Shop, next slide, you will see that our purpose was to exist and to fight for a fairer and more beautiful world. And at the Body Shop, that mindset of well-being was the fuel to enable our purpose. When we look at the Starbucks, for example, to nurture the human spirit, one person, one cup, one community at a time, well-being lives in the human spirit, right? And last, when we look at Patagonia, they talk about causing no unnecessary harm. Well, well-being thrives in the center of humans and the environments that contribute to making products at Patagonia. Okay, so let me say it again. When well-being is embedded in the mindset of culture, engagement is going to flourish because leaders, managers, and people are consistently thinking about well-being. It's on their mind. All right, let's talk about the next element of engagement. It's about culture. So with the right mindset to build resilience, what do we do next? We build a culture. Now, culture is habits, routines, practices, language, customs, symbols. In our culture, we talk about it as being self-love at the Body Shop, right? When you take care of yourself, First, you're enabling psychological safety, and all those things start to come together. Like I said, the first part is leveraging your purpose and mindset. The second part is you build culture, is really about taking a holistic approach. Let me show you in the next slide what I mean. When we look at a holistic approach and we look at the dimensions of well-being, this is part of culture building. You build a culture of well-being by including all the common dimensions of adversity, where all those obstacles in the workplace and in life come from, around the same dimensions of well-being. They coexist, right? They go together, and adversity is intersectional, so is a well-being culture. So when you're creating your culture, right, and driving engagement through well-being, you need to take a holistic approach. The third part, let's go to the next slide, is what I call embracing the crap. Next slide is really all about embracing a culture that is about psychologically safe space where people can make a mistake and step in that crap, and that there's no fear around making mistakes. When we are not afraid of the crap, we can move through it. And so what I mean here is, a culture of, shit happens. It can be positive. These pieces, when we're talking about well-being and engagement, when we embrace the hard parts of stepping in crap and we create that psychological safety, we're going to actually be able to enable people to learn and engage in different ways that they can. And ultimately, this helps build resilience of the individuals and resilience of your workforce. So let's go to the third and last part, which is really about the tools. Use them like a compass. Building a human-centric approach to building resilience, you need to use the compass. Otherwise, you're going to be lost. The tools are your compass. So let's talk about one of the best tools I'm a little biased about. We'll go to the next slide, which is when shit happens. If you put F in shit, what happens? You get shift, right? Shift can also happen. And the real model, is a model that I built. It's from my book, which I'm telling you a little bit about now. It's a little bit of a preview, is that when you step into crap, you say, oh, I stepped in crap. But if you quickly use the real model, you can shift. And shifting and using the real model is a way to actually build tools in your organization so that people not only engage, they build well-being, they build resilience, but they can also move from survive to thrive. What am I talking about? Let me tell you a little bit more about the real model. Come to the next slide, please. When you get real, as I like to say, it's the thing that resilient people do. They get real. It's the real model. They face reality, they channel energy, they're authentic, and they use love to the fullest advantage. And they usually use a combination of these things at the same time. The real model is built on shoulders of positive psychology and neuroscience, and it's a toolkit that actually helps people stay authentic while building resilience and solving problems. I do recommend this. I've used it a lot with my own personal clients. I've used it with companies. I even used a portion of it at places that I used to work. Resilience and authenticity, or authentic resilience, as I like to call it, it's a unique combination because it enables you to be you while you're doing things and doing hard things, but also being able to get through hard things. And the tools of the real model is the secret number 3, which is an unlock for well-being at work. Let me take you on a little bit of a whistle-stop tour. We'll go to the next slide and I'll show you a little bit about what each dimension of the model consists of: reality and the curve. Resilient people embrace the reality curve. There are 3 components: facing the adversity, taking control of adversity, and taking action against it. And it's what I like to call the 4 A's. Resilient people acknowledge there's an issue, they accept that there's an issue, they see what I call as an opportunity to the issue, and then they breathe life and action into it. But hopefully, if we go to the next slide, they don't run into the red zone. Have you ever hit the red zone? The red zone. Remember Lori from the beginning of our talk? Lori was in the red zone. She was exhausted. She was definitely all the way down. Her batteries were at empty, right? When you hit the red zone, and many employees do, I do, leaders do, we get into this danger zone. And fundamentally, The real model is about managing energy, and energy management is a key part of driving resilience in your workspace. And it's also a big part of how a well-being culture comes together. Let me show you that next slide, there are 4 batteries to energy management. And when we talk about physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual batteries, really knowing where our energy comes from, how we manage our energy, what drains our energy, and how we focus our energy enables us to be resilient and enables engagement and enables a well-being culture. Let's go to the next portion of the real model, which is critical. It's about authenticity, right? The core DNA of every individual starts with authenticity. You cannot fake it till you make it when you're dealing with adversity, either on your own or in the workplace. Your brain and your body know better, right? So it's best to get to know your brain and your body, right? Purpose lives inside of authenticity. It's the core values, your core beliefs, your core strengths. Leaning on all of these makes all the difference in times of adversity and challenge. And when you know yourself, release yourself, which is combating negativity bias, self-sabotage, imposter syndrome, inner critic, negative self-talk, and you let go of those things, you're going to be able to enable yourself to be more engaged. You're going to know yourself better. And I'm sorry, the slides keep disappearing, but stay with me. We'll make sure you get the slides. When you allow those things to be released, right? And you start to love yourself. And what I mean by that is really the trifecta of self-love, self-compassion, self-care, and self-advocation. Then that formula for really becoming authentic and taking control back from hard things is going to really enable you, because you're going to lean on those 4 things and those values and beliefs to enable you to get through the hardship. Last but not least in the real model is love. And I often tell my leaders, senior leaders, lead with love. I tell all of my managers, I share with all employees, when we lead our lives with love, which is a little bit about forgiveness, a lot about building community, communicating properly and saying hard things, saying loving things, and having a little bit of laugh, because resilient people know how to have a little bit of laugh at themselves sometimes. When we lead with love, we round out the real model, and ultimately we get to a place where we can thrive. The real model rounds out the 3 elements of engagement and a human-centric approach, which is about building mindset, building culture, and using the tools. So I promised at the end of our discussion for today, go to the last slide here, is I would unlock 3 secrets using authenticity and resilience to share with you how to drive engagement and well-being. Number 1 is engagement factors in creating a well-being culture are about mindset, culture, and tools, taking a human-centric approach. And number 2, building a well-being culture is intersectional. There's no one-size-fits-all approach. And number 3, when it really comes down to making a resilient culture, resilient individuals, resilient life, that ultimately leads to the byproduct of well-being and joy, the real model is a great tool. So I think we're at the end. I want to share a little bit about my book. There's a lot more that is inside this piece of literature for everyone. If you're interested, it is available on Amazon and a lot of other websites. It is available in some bookstores around the world. I encourage you to get a copy and learn more. You can always connect with me. We'll go to the next slide. Should you have questions, stay connected with me on LinkedIn. I do a lot of social stuff on LinkedIn, Instagram. We'll go to the next page so you can see all my socials. I would love for you to connect with me there. You can also check out my website where I've got some other talks about the real model and some other discussions about well-being. But I'm so glad to be with you and kick off. How do we build change? How do we make well-being culture and engagement come alive, particularly by talking more about mental health and well-being in the workplace? So I'm going to leave it there for now. I think I hand it back to Linda for some questions. I'm not sure. I've been watching some of the things come through the chat, and I know some people had trouble seeing all the slides, but we'll make sure that you get a chance to see those. I would welcome any of the questions that you've got for me here today. I'm so excited for you all.
That sounds great. Thank you so much, Nathan. And yes, we've had some questions in the chat about the deck as well. And I'm happy to let you know that if you want to rewatch or share Nathan's session, the replay will be made available on our events platform and also on our YouTube page. So do look out for that. Now, thank you so much, Nathan. I hope your friend Lori took your advice and is doing amazing and is not in the red zone anymore. And I really enjoyed this insightful session here at the Intellect Mental Health Festival. Before we all go off and also take your advice and embrace the crap, let's turn to the questions of the audience. And I think we've seen some really insightful ones that have come up here. The first one I think is really about authenticity. It goes a little bit off topic, but I'm seeing that authenticity connection. One of our audiences here today is asking, as an introverted person, how can I excel at leadership in group projects? What are your thoughts, Nathan?
Yeah, listen, I think I'm an introvert, if you believe it or not. Introversion, extroversion, ambiversion is really about how you manage your energy. So when we look at how you want to show up in groups and group leadership, it's really about how you have to bend back and forth to make sure that you're managing your energy in the right ways, but also being effective. And that's where sometimes employing a coach or a mentor can also be helpful for the introverts of the group, and the ambiverts of the group is about learning how to be comfortable with that. And also, as I mentioned, in the authenticity part of our body is about learning how to quiet down that negative self-talk. It's about how to shush, the negativity bias and the inner critic. Our inner critics are often telling us lots of things that are wrong. So it's about learning and finding ways to manage that so that you can show up as an effective leader, even if you're introverted, and also then really charge and recharge appropriately so that, the introverts of the group, I'm one of them, I need to unplug and recharge my batteries kind of the way I do it. And that's a really important component. So it's about balance. And you see the real model kind of embraces a lot of those different elements. So authenticity and energy management is a big part of that.
Amazing.
Great
Thank you so
question.
much. Thank you so much for your answer. We have lots of more great questions. We do need to put them on hold, though. We are at the end of the session. Thank you so much for your time, Nathan. And thank you so much, everyone, for your great questions. And again, if you want to rewatch this session or you want to share it with somebody else, we will make the recording available to you. And for our next session, you can hear from the group chief nurse at National Healthcare Group, Professor Young, as he shares what we can do at an organizational level to destigmatize mental health challenges. So to join that next session, you will be directed back to the main lobby. Please go ahead and take a look there, and you can click on the join button on the right-hand side to join the next sessions. Last but not least, it would be great if you could take a few minutes to complete our short survey, which will pop up when the session ends. We would love to hear your feedback. And thank you so much for being part of this discussion. And thank you again, Nathan, for your great presentation.
Great. Thank you. Take care.